Hey friends, welcome back, and it's time yet again for more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you're new here, and let's get right into today's Reddit posts. My fiance's daughter almost got me arrested. I, 38 male, got engaged to my fiance, 37 female, about 3 months ago. We've been dating for almost 3 years. She has 2 kids from a previous relationship, 15 female and 12 male. Their dad is involved in their lives, and for the most part, the adults all co-parent and communicate well. I get along really well with the 12-year-old, but I've always struggled to build a relationship with my soon-to-be stepdaughter, Riley. She has made it very clear to me, my fiancé, and her bio dad that she doesn't view me as a parent, and doesn't want me to try and be a father to her because she already has one. A few days ago, my fiancé sent me a text asking if I could pick up Riley from school because she had something come up at work that was going to keep her late. My fiancé usually picks up Riley once a week and brings her to a chiropractic appointment to help with the sports injury Riley got. She told me she would call the school to let them know that I would be picking Riley up because I wasn't on the approved pickup list yet. However, when I got to Riley's school, it quickly became apparent that my fiancé forgot to call the school. The school has locked doors that require you to have a code or be buzzed in by the office. I buzzed into the office to let them know I was there to pick up Riley, and that my fiancé should have called to let them know. They didn't know anything about it. I was left waiting outside for 5 to 10 minutes while they figured it out. I tried calling and texting my fiancé, but she didn't answer. Then the school resource officer, an actual uniformed cop, came out and told me that I would have to leave and that if I refused, then he would arrest me for trespassing. I tried talking with him, but he just kept saying I was not authorized to be on school property and that I had to leave. I had no choice but to leave without Riley. Finally, an hour later, my fiancé called me back. I explained what happened and she apologized for forgetting to call the school because she got distracted with work. She told me she would figure it out and meet me at home. When she and Riley got home, Riley went straight to her room. My fiancé sat me down and told me that Riley had lied to the office and told them that she didn't know who I was and had never seen me before. She thought it would be funny. She told me she explained to Riley how dangerous that was and was going to work with Riley's dad to figure out a punishment. Needless to say, I did not take that news well. I admit I did raise my voice to her. I didn't yell, but I did get louder than I usually talk. She told me to calm down, and I told her that I won't calm down, because her daughter almost got me arrested because she thought it would be funny. I told her that she's just as responsible for this as Riley is, because she didn't call the school and it put me in a position where I looked like a creep or a predator. My fiancé thinks I am overreacting and that I need her to let Riley's dad handle this. How my friend got paid to find creative ways to sleep for 19 months. I have a very good friend who maliciously complied her way into getting paid for essentially doing absolutely nothing for 19 months. It was a government job, no surprise there. She and her colleague worked in a state office that kept track of plague cases among prairie dog towns. They were super busy trapping and testing all summer, but once winter comes, prairie dogs hibernate, so they ran out of work. They told their boss via email there was no more work to do for the season that first autumn, and their boss responded by telling them to stand by for reassignment. So they did. For months. They didn't want to be accused of theft by just clocking in and out and leaving, so in the very beginning, they organized some storage spaces, very slowly, cleaned their office several times, organized paperwork, and that sort of thing. When they ran out of crap to do, they started sleeping, doing schoolwork, Sudoku, what have you. Initially, they slept in turns, so someone was always available if anyone came to check in on them. But when it became obvious no one was coming, they stopped bothering. By summer the following year, when the prairie dogs came out of hibernation, and she thought her work might resume, the whole office, all the employees in every department, received an email from someone high up informing everyone that particular department had been cut. Don't know if it was unfunded or they got all the data necessary the previous summer, or that particular pet project of some politician was forgotten about. But somewhere along the line, the state fish and game axed the project for whatever reason. Nothing was mentioned in the email about her job status, so her and her coworker continued to go in and do nothing. She'd tell me about making a giant binder rubber band chain and roping 2 office chairs together facing each other to sleep in the seats. She's only 5 feet tall, so she fits relatively well. making a nest under her desk, and moving the large-ish copy machine out of its cabinet and sleeping inside. They made sure the security people saw them periodically throughout the day, and they were on camera. Anyone above them paying attention would have noticed, but no one ever took the time. They dodged folks in the other departments for fear they'd get told on, and just minded their own business. They rarely had much interaction with other employees anyway. Eventually, she ran into her boss at a show, and she asked my friend where she had found new work. My friend didn't lie and said she still worked there. Where? Where you left them. She said you should have seen her face when the lady put the pieces together and realized what was going on. The jig was up, and she and her colleague were let go that following morning via email before they went in. Because they had technically worked there for so long, I think 2 years was the threshold, they both got a little severance package. In case you're wondering, they got to keep their pay since 1. They had proof they informed their boss they had no work, and she clearly saw the email and responded. 2. They still showed up. 3. They did exactly what they were told, and 4. It wasn't their job to make sure they actually had work to do. They both qualified for unemployment to boot. Neither of them used the unemployment since they had both been feeling like the gravy train was sure to derail any day, so they had new jobs lined up. School denies me my prescription. I will use fake names. I was abused by my dad's wife growing up. My mom fought long and hard to gain custody, but my dad was a, quote, good Christian, with more money, and he didn't fraternize with black people. Given our location, my mom stood no chance. She finally got custody when I was old enough to where my opinion mattered. I switched from a fancy, extremely competitive, snobby private school to the local public school by choice. I dyed my hair green and put a gay pride sticker on my car. Based on where I was coming from alone, since I was a C student at the fancy school, so it was not my grades, I was placed in all the honors and AP classes the school offered. Teachers didn't know what to think of me. I had green hair. This was considered absolutely shocking at the time, and my friends and I were bullied for many things, including this. My bumper sticker was definitely the most controversial topic in the entire school, but I was quiet. I came from the fancy school. I paid attention in class. I was earning straight A's. Thankfully, although most of my peers shunned me, my teachers realized pretty quickly that I was a decent enough kid. I had a problem where I got migraines, finally got a prescription for them, non-narcotic, and took it straight to the nurse's office because the district had a zero-tolerance policy, and being in possession of even Tylenol would get you expelled for drug possession. The nurse says, "You're going to have to get the doctor's signature on this form." And I say, why? It's a legitimate prescription with my name on it in the original bottle. The nurse condescendingly says, "We're required to have a doctor's signature before we can dispense medications." Me giving 0 Fs, I say, "How do you think I got the prescription in the first place?" The nurse decided to impress upon me the fact that I was powerless here, and that there was absolutely nothing I could do except comply. I left the office stressed because I didn't have access to my migraine medication, and of course ended up stressing myself out into developing a migraine. Call me a Karen, but I felt entitled to go to the nurse's office and be dispensed my medication, and so I politely requested it be given to me. The nurse obviously told me no, so I asked for the principal. Got the assistant principal, who simply reiterated district policy. Then it occurred to me that it was within my power to get my medicine, because I had a secret weapon, so I had to be sneaky. "I'd like to call one of my parents," I said. This phone call wasn't intended for my dad, a financial consultant. It wasn't to my mom, who worked in sales and advertising. Of course I wasn't calling Stepmonster. But my stepdad, on the other hand, just happened to be our region's most famous radio talk show host at the time, and he was on the air for another 2 hours. The assistant principal brought me the phone book. Those existed back then, and I looked up the radio station's number in the yellow pages without the assistant principal figuring out which business I was calling. Called the radio station and got the front desk. Of course, lots of people call them, ask for him, and get absolutely nowhere. But I knew they would interrupt his show and he'd take the call if I told them I was his daughter, OP. In all my life, I had never had a situation that warranted me calling him at work. I was hoping he'd take the call while on air, but he didn't want to air what was likely private business, so he put commercials on while I explained the situation. Then I suppressed a crap-eating grin while handing the phone to the assistant principal to talk to my stepdad, Bill. I managed a poker face. The assistant principal didn't realize he was talking to Bill Jones when he dismissed my concerns, and even suggested I should be denied my medication simply due to my pants, which I'd been wearing half the year without problem, but apparently were a uniform violation that day. The assistant principal basically explained that's just how it is, and tough luck, and did not realize the crap he'd just stepped into. He hung up, dismissed me, and walked off looking pretty self-satisfied at winning his little power trip. I went to class feeling victorious. I hadn't won yet, but I'd played my cards and knew how it would turn out. Stepdad got back on air and immediately changed the topic of discussion to the ridiculousness of the district's medication policy. The phone lines lit up. Turns out lots of people wanted to air their complaints. I was sitting in class, migraine kicking in, but I was feeling satisfied that their lack of respect for me, and all other more powerless students, was hitting the fan. I timed it. 45 minutes after I was arrogantly denied my legally prescribed medication that I needed, the assistant principal came into the classroom I was in, knelt down beside my desk, and whispered, "Hey, you want to come take your medication?" Fallout. Even more fun because the school wanted desperately to expel me. But while I 100% can be a troublemaker when I want to be, evidence, this post, I never did anything for which I could have defensibly been disciplined. They had nothing on me. I knew it. They knew I knew it. And they knew they couldn't get away with making crap up, because Bill Jones. All my friends were seniors, and the school admins didn't realize until the last day of school that I was a junior. I could see the panic in the assistant principal's eyes. The assistant principal says, "You can take one summer course in English and you'll be able to graduate early." And I say, absolutely not. I haven't submitted any college applications, and most of the competitive schools I'll be applying to require more than the basic minimum to graduate. I'll be here for another year. Assistant principal responds, "Would you like to take your high school classes at the community college instead? You'll get high school and college credit." This was a barely heard of program at the time, but they wanted to get rid of me so badly I got to rack up a year's worth of college general education credits during my senior year. They tried to f me over, so I f***ed back, and since they couldn't punish me, they rewarded me just to get me to go away. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe for more Reddit shenanigans. See you next time.